Alright, welcome back. We are going to start on the Mojave chassis swap. So here are the parts that we have. We will have to build up some shocks as well. We got some supports, some grub screws, some other little bits, and then our chassis swap, which seems to come with hardware as well. So we're going to get to breaking down this chassis, and yeah, let's see how hard this is. Now I do have a Mojave body set on my Kraton 8S. So, just so you guys know, and I am going to try to take everything out in chunks so that it's just easier to go back together. So, I might want to get rid of this stuff so that I have a little bit more room to throw some parts. And I don't think we'll be needing the batteries in here. This thing is all charged and ready to go. So my plans are to take this thing out bashing tomorrow, so I'm really going to have to hammer down and get this conversion done. Now I had already modified this box to accept my servo, and they do make a mount, but I opted to do my own mount because it saves a ton of money. So if you're looking at doing an upgraded 5th scale servo, here's the part number. Arma sells a box like this so that you can stick a 5th scale servo in there. So if you notice mine, that I used my plastic welder, it came out exactly the same way, which is funny because I never even saw those boxes. I just naturally make adjustments for what I'm doing. So if I see something not fitting or not working, then I just adjust and build it myself. And my box came out exactly like the box you purchase. And it didn't cost me $20 for the box and $10 in shipping. So just a little note there that you don't always have to buy parts. And I'm hoping that's what the video was showing, but I had a lot of people comment that why didn't you just go out and buy the receiver box or the steering servo box? Because for me, it's definitely more fun and saves a ton of money to just do it yourself. Now I'm going to cut off the zip ties I have, holding all the lines together so that I can separate some of this stuff. I was just going to try to pull it all off in bulk. So there's my lid to my receiver. And my ESC. Here's my fan line, my motor lines that are all nicely tied up. So if you look at the way my servo is, it's exactly like the one that you buy. So when I go ahead and pop that out, I will be showing you guys what I mean. And I don't even think I'm going to take off the wheels. I'm going to try to just take this front and back section off in bulk. This is the first generation bar, so I think I'm only going to split it from one end. I think would be best. Not like it matters because it's only pinned. Kind of tight. That'll come out with the transmission. So I think we're ready to flip it over maybe and pull out the transmission and receiver box. So I'm going to make a little room. I'm going to flip this thing all the way over because we're going to be pulling out all the chassis bolts today. Breaking all the big bolts loose. Snap, crackle, pop. These are for the battery trays. Both battery trays came down. That's the side. So all of those bolts I just took out are all the same size. And we'll be able to give this thing a deep cleaning before we stick it back together. So I want to show you guys something. Here is, take this lid off. Here's the servo box you purchase. Here's my servo box. So as you see, servo all the way back, servo saver on the front, receiver on the inside, my welded up box held together because we did bash this. It's strong and it looks just like the one you can buy. So you don't always have to go out and spend money. This is going to be for the new version 1.5 Kraton. I bought the box versus making my own because this is a monster build and I'm doing the build myself. So any money I can save, I will. So now we're going to take out the transmission. Never be scared to work on your RC. Don't be afraid to pull anything apart because it is a hobby grade RC. It's meant for you to service, work on, do the bearings, do all that stuff so that it's a fun build. There we go. That's our bash brace. And our transmission, which just be careful to keep the debris. God, this is a heavy motor. So all this hardware I'm going to set with that motor. I have my little piles going on so I know what goes to what. Oh, don't forget that screw. Now we're going to start on front and rear assemblies. So going towards the front, I'm going to put them in the front, and the rear bolts I'll put in the rear. And then I'm hoping when I get this one out I can just slip it off the chassis. Yeah, now you know what I mean? Just like that. There was my other bolt in there, I believe. Yep. So there's my whole front setup, drive shaft and all. Now I should be able to do the same to the rear. And then our chassis would have been stripped. I like to take things out in bulk because then it saves me a lot of time. So if you just follow these simple steps and the order I took everything out, you'll be surprised on how easy it is to change the chassis on an ARMA vehicle. And on Traxxas for that matter. I do have two cameras, two GoPros set up so that I can capture everything. And I'm hoping it captures everything. Just like I thought. Slips right out. And there we go. Look at all these rocks that were jammed in there. Rocks for days. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. I'm going to clean off my workspace. I'm going to get the new chassis out, and we're going to start putting this thing back together. Be right back. Alright, back. Went ahead and took the chassis, M2C chassis, out of the bag. I also took this center support brace that's marked front. This stuff is super light. God, this is literally gonna like lighten up the chassis. But this piece is marked front and it says Kraton. So this piece looks like it lines up right here so that it equals this bump here. Now, they do give you two bags. One looks like small brackets and one looks like big brackets. So, I'm kind of curious if I should run the big brackets or the small brackets, or if I'm supposed to run all of these brackets. So, I don't think I have to take these out. And you know what's funny is this chassis, which goes this way, is twisted. This chassis is not flat. So, break out some Loctite. I'm wondering, it looks like this hardware is going to have to go in. I'm going to take these pieces out. Of the package. I keep my receiver containers and use them as hardware bins on builds. Don't need the lid. Now these pieces, I'm not sure where they go. And I'm not sure where this hardware goes, but I know they go with the little pieces. So I'm wondering, I think that goes there. Oh, it says front. That's a good thing it's marked. And that says rear. So I wonder if it's just telling you that's the rear piece and front piece, because this seems to fit like that. And this one, we're missing that hole on both those pieces. So if that, see, front and rear, I really think this goes this way because our motor mount bolts in here. And those have 3 bolts there. And this one is skipping this bolt back here. But that doesn't make sense like that. So, it does make sense like that though. And I'm assuming, at least they're poly locks on the nuts, so theoretically you wouldn't need Loctite on them. And hopefully I'm putting the hardware the right way, because in theory, if you take my airframe and power plant background, you always want the bolt facing down. That way if the nut falls off, the bolt will still hold the part in place, hopefully long enough to land it. But this isn't aircraft, this is a chassis, so I'm assuming the nut goes up to keep the chassis flat on the bottom. So now that I've done that, I'm going to put a touch of Loctite. They are poly locks, but I'm still going to put a touch of Loctite on each one. And then I'll have to find a socket. So I'm going to pause the camera here while I tighten this down, because there's no sense you guys watching me tighten it down. So had to go watch Rich Duper Bash's video to see where these two pieces went. So it looks like there's only 3 bolts that line up, so we still have 2 bolts to put in. I do have Loctite on the bolts ready to go. So they give you 8 bolts, but it only takes 6. And then I'm just cleaning off some of the Loctite that I'm getting on this chassis. So 2 extra bolts. So those are the leftover hardware. At least it gives you more hardware and you're not shortchanged on the hardware. The chassis back together now so that we have a roller. Now on the rear, I should be able to just slip this thing in, open, without messing up that O-ring. I think I'm going to have to loosen these bolts like I did on the front. Actually, I took the ones out on the front. Let's see if I can wiggle this into its spot. There we go. Right into place. So I'm literally starting every bolt before I snug anything down. That way I know at least I'm in the right position. Should be able to tighten these back down. This one was loose. Now I'm going to grab the front and do the same to the front. Where'd the RC Guy Garage Live go? Did it end? I turned the volume down because I didn't want to catch it on my video. But no, it's still going. For some reason it just went off. So now I'm going to get all these screws tightened down, and then we'll have a rolling chassis again. Once I get this all together, just to double check to make sure I didn't miss any screws. So I'm going to flip this back over and we're going to take a look. At the chassis. So there we go, M2C chassis installed, front and rear diffs are installed. So the next thing I'll probably be doing is installing my motor system. And then I'm going to get this part cleaned up before I stick that back in. But this video I think is long enough. Got the chassis in. Now I'm going to go ahead and reverse and put all this other stuff on. So I'm going to pause the videos here, and this will have to be a two-part series because this video is getting way too long. But like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think about the M2C chassis so far going into the Kraton 8S monster build. Let me know if this is something you guys would do, because I definitely like this setup. So it should be relatively easy. All this stuff goes right back on here, and we'll get everything bolted down. There are certain pieces that I will have to change. One being this piece that goes on the front of this. So we'll pop that on now so you guys can see where that piece goes. That's the servo saver. So that comes off, bearing should stay. This goes in there. This goes in here. So that's a good little piece. That'll go up in here. And that will replace out that little nub. I'm not sure where this goes yet, but I'll look into this. I believe it goes to this front brace right here. For this piece right here. Yeah, motor mount brace support block. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the motor, I guess, back out and put that brace on to the motor. But that will be in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on my next video.